I have a 28-minute rant that I'll probably not post because it's too personal. I'm at Kimmeridge. It's going dark. Yes, I'm at Kimmeridge, and it's going dark, and it's 8 o'clock. I didn't plan to do that, but my shoes smell of cow shit, and I really wish they didn't. I really wish my Sauconys didn't smell of cow shit. But basically, what's supposed to be like, oh, it's a 3-mile walk, or maybe a 4-mile walk extended, turned into a complete slog through cow shit, flies, heat, and a lot of crap, literal and otherwise, and ghost paths and things. And I had a bit of an existential meltdown, which I'm still unpacking, and in a way, I assume they're not open. There's kind of these pop-up little sort of, don't know, food vans, boat on the beach. I assume it's all fish, seafood, I think. Seafood, but someone there, I think they're just cleaning up. But, yeah, it was the gist comes down to this. I don't really... Why don't you shout? Let's get away from these noisy cunts. It just comes down to this, that I don't really enjoy camping, which might sound bizarre since I've kind of hoisted my mast, or colours on the mast, not hoisted the mast, around it, but it's kind of one of these things where it's not something I love. It's something I have to do because it's all I can afford. And when you're kind of like walking through cow shit and along roads, and people are cruising by in their 4x4s, which they've paid for with their wage slave jobs, but they're living a kind of a different life. It's almost like a different, people really. And they can just cruise to somewhere like Kimmeridge. It's a 4-mile drive, 3-mile drive, 10-mile drive, 50-mile drive. No, it's no problem in a 4x4. But when I'm trying to do it, there's no public transport, no near campsite, Smedmore Hall doesn't have running water even. And I think the thing I hit was just one of needing a sense of home, needing a sense of somewhere to belong, and that my current home is not really providing that. And when you go on holiday, you kind of hope to find that feeling. You kind of hope to find some kind of sense of even temporarily belonging, finding some kind of meaning, even temporary. And a lot of the meaning was in the artwork, but I found myself very recently getting more and more frustrated with the fact that when the thing you want to draw and paint is 5, 7, 3 miles away, and then turns out even more because you have all these detours because of things that are not existing from the map, and pissing around and getting lost in Steeple. That was fun. And dropping my hat into the river accidentally. I got it back. But that kind of shit. It all just gets very frustrating when I don't get to do the artwork. I did 2 very quick pieces at Kimmeridge, which actually turned out right, but they were literally as the sun was going down, hence why they're black and white. and they're a callback, an intentional callback to Jaunt 2. The last piece I did, or last good piece I did on Jaunt 2, was a pillbox on the beach. And on Kimmeridge, there's, as luck would have it, as fate would have it, there's a pillbox on the beach. But strangely full of stones, like little offerings. I'm fascinated by that. But also tank traps, which are the strange pyramid type objects. But when you just draw them on their own, there seems to be a bit more ritualistic about them. So I did a few pieces there quickly, hyperspeed even for me, because I was losing the light. And yes, I did spend a while recovering at the Clavel restaurant having a drink because I was just so hot and so exhausted that I needed to have a drink and just wind down because I was so irritated by something that should have been a simple walk and is a nightmare. A lot of people don't have this, and it's all just because my shoes smell like shit because I can't afford a car. I don't really want to afford a car because cars are evil. But, I can't afford a B&B. I couldn't afford to hire a B&B down here. I can't afford a taxi all the time to get me home. So, even though my feet are wet because I tried to clean the cow shit off them, not totally successfully, they still stink. I have to try the shower. Hopefully not. I managed to get one of them damp already, but I'm trying to get them damp inside, but somehow clean off the cow shit. But it's that kind of thing, Other people don't have to face these things because they have privilege, they have money, but then they have all the other expectations, so they can't do that thing very often, and that's the kind of the crux I'm having. The problem I'm having is that the sort of the meme capitalist ideas have crept into my work in a way I'm not happy with, because I have found myself wanting to just complete the walk just to get rid of the expectation, back to pathological demand avoidance. And it's something I set up myself, that I said I'd walk the whole of Jurassic Coast documenting it. And that's what happened on Sunday, really. And I accepted that I did actually take some little bit of art material, but I accepted that I probably won't get to use it. What's more frustrating on a walk like yesterday and today, when I take the art material with thinking, well, it's a few miles, I might be wrong by a mile or two, but it's not an arduous walk. And then it turns out, oh, it is. I don't get to. And then I just crack on. I'm like, let's just get this shit over with. That is not what I want to do in this project. Or if this project has got to that, then yes, I will stop doing the artwork and do the walks and get it over with and move on with my life to another thing. And that's not the end of Jaunt, that's just the end of this part of Jaunt, documenting the Jurassic Coast, and find somewhere else to walk around, somewhere hopefully cooler, as in temperature, somewhere with better public transport, preferably, because the Jurassic Coast is pretty good, but there are blank spots like where I am now, complete blank spots, in which case the car is king. And when I recorded the first part of this, there was a lot of that. The original draft of this message, there was a lot of people coming. I was coming down to Kimmeridge Bay, and I feel a bit better now. I've done a couple more pieces, but I haven't been doing the pieces for sale. But then people don't buy them, so it's like, why bother? Why bother taking a massive box, heavy box full of paper over some fucking cliffs for 5 miles if no one's going to buy this shit anyway? So, sort of having these two different voices, which is just finish it, let's just bury this project, let's just do the, was it Branscombe, which past Branscombe to Exmouth bit, which I think is about 7 miles. Not famous last words, it might be 7 miles as a crow flies, but walking it might be very uppy downy, but get that done, walk it, don't take the art materials, just walk it, fuck it off, and then move on to something else. And I feel very sad about that, because it comes back to the same thing, that I seem to have, in a project that was supposed to get me away from home into a kind of a new home. Scary people with big vans and rib inflatables. That was kind of like to get me out of the house, out of the flat, and give me sort of freedom to not have to spend all my time there, and to do something creative, work towards a project, and get it sort of, present it something that maybe a podcast, eventually a book or something. Maybe do more of these, the idea of a thing from it. But I don't really, I feel like that the problem is I spend all my time whining in these podcasts, and then probably everyone's like, oh, shut up, Tim. But there's that disjunctive, what I want to do, the frustration of I can't do it because of physical and economic means, and a kind of, not necessarily the lack of interest, because I love the people that are interested deeply, and I'm glad they're there. And I know it's a niche idea, especially listening to me fucking moan about Dorset drivers. But it's I don't really know where I want to go with this, because it's like, do I keep killing myself and falling over and damaging and injuring myself for things where there is seemingly some artistic return for me, but actually not much artistic return, because actually it's become too difficult, because I'm having to walk 3-4 miles to get to the point of even starting that walk. So by the time I'm getting on the walk and thinking that'll be good, I'm too knackered and it's too late and I have to go. And that is the problem. And the first jaunt was so productive, partly because I burnt through stupid amounts of money, staying in places that were expensive but very, literally on the coast. And I can't really afford to do that. So I've had to kind of scale all that back, and part of that scaling back is it gets less comfortable, and it's not a case of go to a pub meal every night. It's more the comfort in what I can carry, the comfort in how far I can go, and whether I can carry that stuff on the cliffs. Now, it's very obvious what happened yesterday with a pack was only in my art gear and a little bit of shopping, nowhere near what I would carry if I had everything in my tent. It would have been much more damaging if I'd had the full weight. And it's either an idea of day trips or kind of overnight trips with minimal food, just basically a tent and a little bit of food, a little bit of water. Well, not more, a lot of water, because that's the point. There's no way to get water around here. It's like Kimmeridge, Swanage, nothing in between. Everything else that says, oh, you could free fill up here, is all time dependent. And so if you happen to be on a Sunday, a bank holiday, Queen dying, whatever, you cannot get water. So there's only 2 actual proper open, as in you can go up 24 hours any day and use the tap. Between Kimmeridge and Swanage, that's a very long distance, and that makes it really difficult, because you have to then just take litres of water Even for something like today, I managed to refill at Clavel Arms. I knew I could refill at the toilet, but I still took a litre and I drank most of it. And so it's stuff like that. It's like the difficulties stop the work being done. And that's just frustrating. And then I've got this voice in my head just saying, well, just do the walks, screw the artwork. But that was the point of the walks in the first place. It's a working holiday. I'm supposed to be trying to combine the two. But it has a point, that voice, because I'm not happy with what's happening. I'm not happy with the work I'm doing. Very similar to Jaunt 2. And I need to be more comfortable to get to a point where I am happy with the work, where I'm not thinking, I've got to walk 3 miles after this. Oh fuck, I've got to go in 30 seconds. Otherwise I miss the bus. I've got to walk 5 miles and get a bus, so I've got to go now. That is not conducive to it. And so when you come to places like Kimmeridge, it's like a weird no man's land of where either you're rich enough to afford to stay at a B&B, or rich enough to have a car to drive here or a taxi to get here and be able to get a taxi back, not be suddenly gone. Not available at 9 o'clock. Or, you're fucked, or you're not fucked, you are literally walking through cow shit. Because you're trying to avoid the cars. During this, you've had 3 cars go past. What it was like earlier, even though it was like 7 o'clock and there was a big sign saying emergency vehicles only and the gate was half closed, there were still people coming down. And there was and lots of people coming back, and that was more like every 30 seconds. When you were walking earlier in the day on some of the B roads are really bad because they've got big quarry lorries. They're very scary. But even the lesser roads, it's more like every 10 seconds, every 30 seconds, every few minutes. And that becomes very oppressive after a while. So you try and walk off the roads into the paths, and you find out the paths magically don't exist, or they do exist, but they're going through nettles. That's happened a lot today, which, given my knee, was not good. Or, hey, you've got this, hey, you've got to go through a field with dive-bombing flies, as happened earlier, because they're actually waiting. It was really bizarre. They were waiting on this electrical fence around the sheep field, and somehow they'd worked out, I don't know why, that people come through there, I guess, because there was a whole posse of them waiting, sitting on the fence at the bit which had been covered over so people could use the footpath. And then you just step over it and there's suddenly a cloud of fires, and I had to put all my picaridin on and just basically run for it. A lot of that. And dropping my hat in the river and getting covered in cow shit, stuff like that, Other people don't have to do that, and it's times like today and yesterday I do think, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? What's the point? Because I'm not enjoying it. And there is an important, the concept of suffering for your art is a cute one. It's very cute. I do hope I can get in some sort of gate here. It's very cute, but it does, it doesn't pay the bills, and also it doesn't help your mental health. It does not help if you're being more stressed by the thing that's supposed to be partly a holiday than being at home. Then why not just stay at home? Why bother to go anywhere? but I know I'll be unhappy there as well. So that's the kind of the thing, is just like, what am I doing this project for? It's about a promise to myself and other people that it's just kind of bullshit in a way. It's meaningless. But I'm like holding myself to it and damaging myself trying to do this thing when it's not providing any monetary gain. People aren't buying the work on the previous jaunts. People might enjoy the things, and occasionally people donate, which is brilliant. That helps, but it doesn't really cover the whole cost. And I'd much rather actually be going to Greece or other countries and go and do other things, other subjects. But we're stuck to the, hey, I can't afford that. That's not really feasible, because I've just been working out that, well, I can't really camp in the heat. I'm not good in the heat in my tent anyway. Imagine it's like some kind of Greek heat. Then it's like, that's not going to be very fun. Well, not even fun, it's going to be very survivable. To be that kind of heat at night, and then how do you sleep? So I don't know. But I can't afford especially nowadays, maybe 20, 30 years ago when things were cheaper, but nowadays Greece is expensive. So, and it's kind of, I want to travel around and do different subjects and different things. But if we're restricted to what we have here, it's kind of a limit. There becomes a limit between what I can reach, what has public transport. If it's very remote, you have to take everything with you. But then I'm going to have to, like today, I was annoyed because I didn't have a brush pen. I had to try and use my sable brush in ink, which I never like to do because it's expensive. But that's the only brush I had. And it's that kind of feeling of restricting what I'm doing in my art for to make it possible to even do it when most people are home working on fucking photographs. And that's like, a lot of stuff you see is actually made from photographs, and it's a dying art to do plain air work. And it feels like a bit of a mugs game, because you either need a car or servants or whatever to move things around. Quite a few people are, if they do it, they're going to drive. If not, it's difficult to get to these places early in the morning, late at night, or, at all. So you have to stay there. So camping is the only way, but then you camp and it goes just wrong. And you've got mattresses, being accidentally punctured. You've got falling over and deluged by rain and then boiled. There's a whole sort of simple bunch of things. It's not it's quite a sort of, and it does feel like I've just exchanged a bunch of crap that I have to deal with at home with a bunch of literal crap, including cow crap, on holiday, and that I also need time to relax and not be stressed out, and I'm not getting that. So this is probably is this a longer rant than the previous one? Almost. So I better stop. I'm trying to keep these down to manageable chunks, like 15 minutes, but I don't manage that usually. 8 minutes. You could have had a 28-minute one. And it got very personal. Into stuff I don't really want to drag into my art blog and the jaunt world, but there is that existential crisis, which is like, why am I doing this if I'm not actually doing the artwork? Why am I dragging all this shit across you know, across massive mountains almost. Why am I doing that? I haven't found the answer to that yet. Anyway, good night.